The United States 0, Japan 2, a tune-up friendly right before the World Cup in Dusseldorf, Germany. A game in which the United States just got dominated left to right. Just didn't really seem like a game the U.S. was going to win. Just not a lot of inspiration, no real standout performances. Japan is a great team. They did a lot of good things, but it felt like the U.S. really shot themselves in the foot as well. Just a combination of Japan being good and the U.S. just not being able to execute anything, create any momentum. The United States didn't even manage a single shot on target. Really only had one or two decent chances in this game. But today we're going to be doing our player ratings and our takeaways from this game. A lot to talk about. Did look a little bit concerning. I'm not going to hit the panic button quite yet because maybe this was just a one-off. We don't know. But let's just get straight into this video and go over our player ratings and our takeaways from this video. Alright, so starting off with our player ratings across the back and in goal, I gave Matt Turner an 8. He was by far the only bright spot in this entire game. He made some really good saves. The question of who should be starting goalkeeper Qatar by now should be pretty much wrapped up. Matt Turner, I think, has the title as a starting goalkeeper heading into Qatar. I gave Sam Vines a 5. Was pretty shaky in possession, didn't really offer much going forward. Played a little bit more advanced in the second half, almost as a left wing back, and we kind of got free from Aaron Long. But still, overall, wasn't great and definitely didn't do anything to raise his stock. Aaron Long was a 4, was pretty poor the entire first half, was just giving balls away left and right. He made one or two good defensive plays, but other than that, he's just super uninspiring, and I don't see why he's still on the national team. Walker Zimmerman, I gave a 5 again, pretty sloppy in possession, made one or two nice cutouts. He did have one or two decent entry balls out to Serginho Dest, but other than that, just really wasn't special at all, below his normal performance. Dest, I gave a 6. Was fairly active going forward, made a couple of nice one-touch passes forward to Luka De La Torre, and he had the really good cross of Ferreira that should have been put away to put us up 1-0. But that's just soccer, it didn't happen, but overall pretty poor from the entire back line. And moving on to midfield, Tyler Adams, I gave him a 5, was pretty sloppy the entire match, just giving passes away left and right. The only thing that makes his rating a 5, which would have been lower, but he did have a few nice defensive plays, covered a lot of ground and was able to just cut out a lot of things. But if it wasn't for that, he would probably have been between a 3 and a 4. He was not very good at possession whatsoever. Weston McKennie was a 4. This is probably the worst I've seen him play for the national team in quite a long time. I mean, just really loose touches everywhere. Couldn't really keep possession flowing, so he was just really bad on the entire day. I'm not worried at all because Weston McKennie is one of the best players in the pool in terms of overcoming adversity. He's in a little bit of a rough spell right now, but I believe he'll be back to normal pretty soon. It's just bad games are going to happen here and there, but I'm not really worried. Luka De La Torre, I gave a 5.5. Again, just really wasn't that good at all. Had a few nice progressive carries, few decent passes, but overall just didn't really offer much defensively at all. Just didn't really make a claim in the midfield. And finally, on to our attackers. We had Gio Reyna on the left, Jesus Ferreira up top, and Brendan Aronson on the right. Right before this game, Christian Pulisic was omitted from the lineup due to a small injury picked up in training. He should be fine, but we still ended up rolling out with Reyna, Ferreira, and Aronson. I gave Gio Reyna a 6, wasn't very involved in the game, but when he did get those touches on the ball, I thought he was very proactive. Had a couple of nice across field passes, especially the one to Dest to set up that chance for Ferreira. But once again, just not very involved, so I can't make his rating much higher. Jesus Ferreira, I gave him a 5, just lost the ball a few times, wasn't very active in the build-up at all. Didn't really do much in the press. He had that one really good chance towards the beginning of the first half, which he should have put away, but he wasn't able to do that. And then Brendan Aronson, I gave a 5. He just wasn't really that good. Lost the ball a lot. On the turn, he looked really, really stiff. But I'll give him credit. He was trying, at least making things happen when the ball did come to him. Even if he lost it, he'd be trying his best to win it back. He did have one nice moment towards the end of the second half where he ended up carrying the ball, lost it, stuck with it, and somehow ended up to get a shot away, which went just wide. But once again, not the greatest display from the attackers, but it's really hard to do that when the whole team is really just off by a whole lot. So that's all I'm going to say for that. Alright, so on to our takeaways. Forget the player ratings for the subs. I don't even feel like doing them. They were just super uninspiring when they did come in the game. But the one positive I did come away from this game was knowing Matt Turner for sure has a number 1 spot locked for Qatar. Against Japan, he was absolutely phenomenal. Just made some really, really impressive saves. It could have easily been 4 or 5 for Japan had it not been for some of these saves he made. I mean, whether it's close range or getting down to save low shots in the corner, was really impressed. Although his distribution wasn't quite the greatest, still really impressed with Matt Turner. I think he can make saves that nobody else in the entire pool can. So once again, the only real positive from this game. On to the second takeaway. Why are we trying to build out of the back with center backs who cannot build? out of the back. After about 5 to 10 minutes, it was pretty evident to see that just playing out of the back, playing through lines, was not working. And when you play center backs, who especially their strength is not playing out of the back, it doesn't make sense. If you want to play out of the back, that's one thing, but at least have profiles that can at least play out of the back. Aaron Long in particular is dog crap playing out of the back. Zimmerman I think is okay at it, but when you pair him with Aaron Long, they're just both destined to fail. Like, why try something over and over again that just wasn't working? There was some graphic on ESPN at halftime that was like, the U.S. was dispossessed in their own half 30 to 40 times, alone in the first half. So it was just so easy for Japan to just set up, press us, and we would just lose the ball like that. It was nothing to me. I don't know why we keep trying to insist on building out of the back when we don't have the players to do it, and that just can't be what we focus on if it's not going to succeed. My third takeaway is the lack of quality depth is starting to become a real concern. There's only about 15 to 16 guys that I really, really trust to be if they were on the field in Qatar. Sam Vines today in particular, he was given an opportunity to be that second left back. Just wasn't really good. The substitutions we brought on, Reggie Cannon, Jordan Moore, Smart McKenzie, Johnny Cardoso, Malik Tillman, just really had no impact in the game and just really couldn't keep up with the way that Japan played. Now, credit Japan, they're a good team, but once again, against higher opposition, they're just not going to make that much of an impact. Same with Josh Sargent. I think he was better than Jesus Ferreira, but again, just doesn't really offer anything extra from like those starters. And I know we do have some injuries, but if we do have a lot of injuries at the World Cup, man, I'm really, really worried. Fourth takeaway, do we even have a plan B when things start to go wrong? I think it's a great thing that Berhalter has a system he wants to go with. Like, for the first time, we really have an identity in a way that we want to play, but it's not going to work against every single team, especially a really good team like Japan. If they figure out what our cues are, they can just really adjust to them, and it's just so easy for them to try and play through us and just have us not succeed. So when things aren't going well and not working, we need to at least have a backup, try and play a little bit differently, make the opposition think a little bit, put them on their back heels, and just stop trying to force the same thing over and over again when it's not working. Once again, that's the definition of insanity. If something isn't working, you don't just keep trying it, trying to find new solutions in the game. We know that Berhalter is really keen on trying to play out of the back, but if it's not going to work against good teams, then why even do it? We have good players, we just can't really seem to fit them play a certain way, especially against every single team. My fifth takeaway, if it wasn't evident already, Yunus Musah and Tim Weah to me are infinitely valuable to this team. I watched that game today and I say, boy, having these two profiles in the team just make the team click so much more. A guy like Yunus Musah is so sturdy on the ball, can just break lines like nothing with his pace and his ability to just dribble through midfield. He is such a special talent. If we're trying to play out of the back under pressure, Yunus Musah is the guy that you can give the ball to and say, okay, do this. And Yunus Musah, 9 out of 10 times, not 9 out of 10, but a lot of times is just going to easily just be able to turn and just get out of pressure like that. He's so good at doing that. I think McKinney can do it, but he's just not as good as Yunus Musah in the build-up. Same goes with Luka De Torre. They're not on the same level in terms of trying to play out of the back and get out of pressure as Yunus Musah can. Tim Weah, he's not as good as Gio Reyna and Christian Pulisic, right? In terms of talent, no. But to the way that we want to play Tim Weah, he's a guy who can stretch that back line, make those runs in behind, and just really force Japan to get on their back heels, and it just opens up so much more space for other guys. Now, it is a little bit tough. It's a little bit of a dilemma to think, okay, we have Gio Reyna, we have Christian Pulisic, we have Yunus Musah, we have Weston McKennie, we have Brendan Aronson. How are we going to put them all on the field? But I don't know. Tim Weah, just every time he puts on the national team shirt, he just really opens things up and just makes us look so much different. I just don't see there's a way how you can leave Tim Weah out of the starting lineup. He just really forces other teams to go on their back heels, and it just opens the game up so much more for us. So that's what I'll say. Same goes with Anthony Robinson. We don't have a second left back who's even close to touching what he can do in terms of quality performances. So those three, but in particular Yunus Musah and Tim Weah, have so much value to this team. It's crazy, man. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for sticking around. We have Saudi Arabia on Tuesday in a game that hopefully we can bounce back and prove that this game against Japan was just an outlier. But didn't like a lot of the things I saw from that game, from the performances, the tactics, some of the coaching. Just things that if they stay the way they are, I'm going to have some real concerns heading into the World Cup, and they need to be resolved ASAP. But looking forward to Tuesday's game. We'll have some more content out on the channel recently. But that's going to wrap it up for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.